Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I wanted to share my holistic healing journey with you all. I think it's really interesting and it kind of has like a twist to it. And so my healing journey began in 2019 when my health took a turn for the worst. I was experiencing a lot of inflammation. My immune system was going haywire, and I just didn't know what was going on with my body. It was falling apart. And so at that point, I had thousands of dollars saved up. I spent all of it going from specialist to specialist in hopes to find answers and in hopes to find relief. But unfortunately, all they could tell me and give me was steroids to help the inflammation, to help suppress the immune system. And I, of course, didn't take the steroids because it didn't make sense to me. Why do I need to put a bandage on my symptoms? Why? It didn't make sense to me, so I didn't do it. And I went on my own quest to find healing. And it started with a book called The Autoimmune Solution by Amy Myers. And I learned about how to heal from autoimmune diseases. You know, it talked about the gut, the immune system, toxins in your body, in your environment and everything. And then it talks about stress. And in that book, there's a healing protocol for your gut to help you reduce inflammation and heal your gut, and then in turn heal your immune system, which I think is amazing. And I think that those protocols are wonderful and they work for some people. But I'm not the type of person who can be on a strict diet. It's depressing for me, and it doesn't work for me. It works for some people, alhamdulillah, and I think it's an amazing tool to use. And so I wanted to dig a little bit deeper, because going back now, I realized that there were some emotions, deep stored emotions, and some emotional baggage and some trauma that I hadn't dealt with. And so I started doing some deep reflection on my internal state and, you know, my thoughts and my emotions and everything like that. And then in 2020, I started this course to become a holistic health coach because I wanted to learn how to heal myself and I wanted to help others heal. And I learned that it's not just about the physical, it's about the mental, emotional, the spiritual. You know, it's much deeper than just the physical. Although the physical is important, such as eating healthy, exercising, you know, sweating to let those toxins out of your body, drinking lots of water. Those things are absolutely important, but healing on a deeper level requires, you know, unpacking these emotions that you store. Not only that, but also, like I said, it's mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And so, I started, you know, going inward with my emotions and journaling a lot and facing my shadows and taking a look at the parts of myself that I really wanted to work on. And that took me pretty far. But it only takes you so far. Because for me, I'm a very spiritual person. And so I started to, I wanted to heal deeply. And so I started to explore different healing modalities and different different spiritual paths. And I got into New Age spirituality, which involved a little bit of Hinduism, Buddhism, some occult practices. And I'm sorry if you can hear puppies in the back fighting. That's all they do. They fight all day long. Anyways, so yeah, I wanted to dive into spirituality because I felt like my soul was yearning for healing on a spiritual level. And so I got into New Age spirituality, and I experimented with some healing modalities such as meditation, a little bit of yoga, breath work. I even went as far as getting into crystal healing, and I learned a little bit about Reiki. And eventually that path led me back to God. And then I became Christian again. And when I was Christian, I felt like there was something missing, like there was a part of the truth that was missing, that I didn't have the full picture. And so I prayed to God. I asked him, please show me the straight way. Please show me what I'm missing, because I feel like I am not on the right path. Although I'm here worshiping you, I still feel like there's something missing. And so shortly after, I heard a little bit about Islam, and then I came across Surah Al-Fatiha, and automatically I knew that was Allah guiding me, subhanAllah, alhamdulillah. And so I felt like my soul could finally breathe, and I felt like I was no longer wandering around in the darkness. So then I had the emotional and I had the spiritual part down. Although the emotional healing is something that takes place throughout your life, because we are such complex beings and our emotions are complex. And, sometimes there are situations that bring up certain emotions that we haven't dealt with. And then once we deal with that, there's something else that comes up. So it's always going to be, it's a journey. It's not a destination. Okay, so I felt great in the spiritual sense. But I still felt physically unwell. I was still struggling with my health. And in 2023, I started working at an elementary school. And at first I loved it. But then eventually it became so overwhelming for me. All of the people, all of the sounds, all of the noises, the lights, everything. It was absolutely draining. And I know that, working at a school is exhausting, and I know that teachers come home exhausted, but I felt completely depleted on a whole nother level. And I just thought, this is not normal. Something is different. Something's like, what is going on with me? And so I started thinking about, I started wondering like if I could be autistic. And, I had wondered this on and off for the past like 5 years. And so eventually I went to get a diagnosis for autism. I was curious. I wasn't expecting, to actually get that diagnosis, but I was just curious. And this was something that I needed to know the answer to. And so I went through the diagnostic process and everything, and she ended up diagnosing me with autism, alhamdulillah. And to be honest, I wasn't relieved. I was feeling kind of sad and defeated because I thought, what does this mean for my life? What does this look like? Like what is my life going to look like? What does this mean? Am I going to be disabled? Am I going to be able to, live my life? And then I fell a little bit into despair. And then I started to hide my autistic traits, and I started to feel ashamed of them, and I pretended that that diagnosis didn't exist. And I was in denial, and I thought, is this really me? And so eventually I got tired of hiding that part of myself and suppressing it. Because when you do that, when you mask who you really are, it has physical, mental, and emotional consequences. It's kind of like somebody who experiences physical pain. Physical pain is connected to your emotions and the emotions that you store and how intense those emotions are. And so I let go and I accepted, this is who I am. This is how Allah created me to be. And there's nothing wrong with it. I function differently. I think differently. My life is going to look different than others from now on. And so I started going down this journey of healing my nervous system and feeling safe in my identity. I feel like that's a huge thing for neurodivergent people, is feeling like it's not okay to be the way that you are and trying to function and live how neurotypical people function and live. It does not work for neurodivergent people. And that's okay, because Allah SWT created us this way, and He knew exactly what He was doing when He created us. And so I discovered that the part of my healing journey that I was missing had to do with self-acceptance, and feeling safe in who I am. Because at the end of the day, as Muslims, we have Allah SWT in our corner, so we are safe. We're going to be tested. There's going to be things that happen. We're going to feel afraid at times because Allah SWT promised that we would be tested in this world. But at the end of the day, we have somewhere to go back. We have someone to go back to. We have someone to aid us. We have someone to help us. This is an advantage that we have as Muslims, as neurodivergent Muslims. Alhamdulillah. And so, if we can train our nervous systems to feel safe in our identity and lean in to our relationship with Allah SWT, then that reduces anxiety, and that helps you feel more at ease, and it helps you feel safe. Because you know that you are being divinely guided and supported by the Creator of the heavens and the earth. And we really have to grow first of all, we have to heal our view of Allah. If you've been through trauma, and you've been through things and you see Allah not in a good light, that's something that needs work. That needs work. And then, having tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and having yaqeen, which obviously is something that, that's not a destination either. We have to cultivate that. And we do that in, growing in our Islam.